Hello students, I'm Dr. Himanshu Kanpal, Assistant Professor English, Government MS College for Women, Bikaner. Today we are going to discuss in detail the poem The Lotus Eaters by Alfred Lord Tennyson, who is considered as one of the famous and greater poets of Victorian era. This poem is included in English Literature syllabus BA Part 2nd, MGS University, Bikaner. Introduction to the poem. This poem is based on the story of Odysseus's mariners described in Book 9th of Homer's Odyssey. Homer writes about a storm that blows the great heroes, mariners, as they attempt to journey back from Troy to their homeland in Ithaca. They come to a land where people do nothing but eat lotus, the Greek of our English lotus, a flower so delicious that some of his men, upon tasting it, lose all desire to return to Ithaca and long only to remain in the land of the lotus, because throughout their lives they have toiled so hard that when they arrived at the land of the lotus eaters, they want to remain there forever. Odysseus must drag his men away so that they can continue their journey home. In this poem, Tennyson powerfully evokes the mariners' yearning to settle into a life of peacefulness, rest, and even death. In this poem, Tennyson provides a tempting and seductive vision of a life free from toil. Nearly every stanza of the choric song presents a different argument to justify the mariners' or the sailors' resolution to remain in the lotus land. For example, in the second stanza of the song, the mariners express the irony of the fact that man, who is the pinnacle and the apex of creation, is the only creature made to toil and labor all the days of his life. It seems they are telling about the agony of their hearts. Although the taste of the lotus and the vision of life it offers is seductive, but the poem suggests that mariners may be deceiving themselves in succumbing to the hypnotic power of the flower. Partaking of the lotus involves abandoning external reality and living instead in a world of appearances where everything seems to be but nothing actually is. The lotus land emerges as a land where all things always seem the same. This is the reason that the mariners or the sailors, they want to live at the place, because now they have lost the power to power of thinking that what is actually they are made for. They think that they throughout their lives they have toiled so hard, they have labored so hard, now it is the time for rest, and in that condition they want to live in that land of lotus eaters forever. They do not want to return to their homeland. Indeed, the word seems recurs throughout the poem. Again and again we can see in the poem can be found in all but one of the opening 5 stanzas, suggesting that the lotus land is not so much a land of streams as a land of seams. In addition, in the final stanza of the choric song, the poem describes the lotus land as a hollow land with hollow caves, indicating that the vision of sailors is somehow empty and insubstantial. Now we are going to move to the summary of the poem. Here I can add some few more points that The Lotus Eaters is a striking poem which begins with a heroic line. Courage, he said, and pointed towards the land. We can see that the poem is looking at the human condition and its interest centers in the conflict between the sense of responsibility and the desire to take pleasures. So, here we begin the poem. Odysseus tells his mariners to have courage, assuring that they will soon reach the shore of their home. In the afternoon, they reach a land in which it seemed always afternoon because of the languid and peaceful, calm and soothing atmosphere. The mariners sight this land of stream with its gleaming, shining river flowing to the sea, its three snow-capped or snow-covered mountain tops and its shadowy pine growing in the vale, and they are lured to the land of the lotus eaters. The mariners are greeted by the mild-eyed, melancholy lotus eaters whose dark faces appear pale against the rosy sunset. These lotus eaters come bearing the flower and fruit of the lotus which they offer to Odysseus's mariners. Those who eat the lotus feel as if they have fallen into a deep slumber or sleep. They sit down upon the yellow sand of the island and can hardly perceive their fellow mariners speaking to them, and they hear only the music of their heartbeat in their ears. Although it has been sweet to dream of their homes in Ithaca, the lotus make them weary of wandering, preferring to linger here, to remain there. One who has eaten of the lotus fruit proclaims that he will return no more, and all of the mariners begin to sing about this resolution to remain in the land of lotus eaters. So we can say in the course of the Odysseus' voyage, they see a land of the lotus eaters one afternoon and encouragingly pointed it out that to his sailors. The atmosphere of the land was dull and a kind of faintness seems to surround it. There they meet with the inhabitants. The dull-faced native inhabitants came near the ship and gave them lotus plant with the flowers. The sailors, after eating the lotus, sat on the yellow sand and dream of their native land and dear relations there. But they no longer desire to undertake another voyage to return home. The rest of the poem consists of 8 number stanzas of the mariners' choric song expressing their resolution to stay forever. We can see the first they praise the sweet and soporific music of the land of the lotus eaters, comparing this music to petals dew, granite and tired eyelids. In the second stanza, they question why man is the only creature in nature who must toil or who must work hard. They give arguments that everything else in nature is able to rest and stay still, but man is tossed from one sorrow to another. Man's inner spirit tells him that tranquility and calmness offer the only joy, and yet he is fated to toil and wander his whole life. The sailors, what they do, they effectively bring out the contrast between the life of man and then of the objects of nature in their song, Death is the end of life. Man cannot escape it. Then they feel that why should life be full of labor? When everything is doomed, weary labor in the mockery of life, let us enjoy peace and die quietly. So the sailors do not desire to return home, but want to cherish its memory only from the distance. In the third stanza, the mariners declare that everything in nature is allotted a lifespan in which to bloom and fade. As example of other living things that die, they cite that folded leaf which eventually turns yellow and drifts to the earth, as well as the full juiced apple which ultimately falls to the ground, and the flower which ripens and fades. Next, in the fourth stanza, they question the purpose of a life of labor, since nothing is cumulative and thus all of our accomplishments lead nowhere. They question what will last, proclaiming, announcing that everything in life is fleeting and therefore futile. The mariners also express their desire for long rest or death, either of which will free them from a life of endless labor. It means that now they have labored so hard throughout their lives that their desire is now for rest or for death. They think that the nature provides rest to everything. So why a man is destined to toil hard forever? The fifth stanza echoes the first stanza's positive appeal to luxurious self indulgence. The mariners declare how sweet it is to live a life of continuous dreaming. Because why they are saying so? Because they are under the effect of the lotus plant which they have eaten, which they are given to by the inhabitants of that place. They paint a picture of what it might be like to do nothing all day except sleep, dream, eat lotus, and watch the waves on the beach. They think that this life is going to be make them more happier. Such an existence would enable them peacefully to remember all those individuals they once knew who are now either buried, heaped over with a mound of grass, or cremated two handfuls of white dust shut in an urn of brass. In the sixth stanza of the poem, the mariners reason that their families have now forgotten them anyway because they have been on their journey for many years and their homes have fallen apart, so they might as well stay in the land of the lotus eaters and let what is broken so remain. They think that nobody remembers them now because it's been years and years they have been on their journey, although they have fond memories of their wives and sons. Surely by now, after 10 years of fighting in Troy, their sons have inherited their property. It will merely cause unnecessary confusion and disturbances for them to return now. Their hearts are worn out from fighting wars and navigating the seas by means of constellations, and thus they prefer death like existence of the land of the lotus to the confusion that a return home would create. So they do not want to create any kind of confusion and they want to remain there forever because they think that nobody is waiting for them in their homelands, and if they are going to return back they are going to create a confusion. Let them live there and they are going to rest in this place. In the seventh stanza, as in the first and fifth, the mariners bask in the pleasant sights and sounds of the island. They imagine how sweet it would be to lie on beds of flowers while watching the river flow and listening to the echoes on the caves. Now they are admiring the beauty of the lotus land. Finally, the poem closes with the mariners' vow to spend the rest of their lives relaxing and reclining in the hollow lotus land. They resolve to stay on the lotus land and live there like gods, banishing all care and anxiety from their hearts. They compare the life of abandon which they will enjoy in lotus land to the carefree existence of the gods who could not care less about the famines, plagues, earthquakes, and other natural disasters that plague human beings on earth. Just as the gods are unmindful of the human misery and sorrow, the sailors too would live alone, oblivious of social obligations. They feel that these gods simply smile upon men who till the earth and harvest crops until they either suffer in hell or dwell in the Elysian valleys of heaven, since they have concluded that slumber is more sweet than toil. The mariners resolve to stop wandering the seas and to settle instead in the land of the lotus eaters. So, by the use of imagery and subtle use of significant words, Tennyson has been successful in creating an atmosphere of drowsiness and languor. Tennyson is supreme in creating an apt atmosphere. The landscape is obviously seems to be imaginary, but the details of the scenery are taken from the things, the nature. Everything in nature is slumberous. The choice of diction, the pictorial effect, and the sound of the lines is perfect tune with the mood of the poem. The poem is, we can say, superbly musical, and it has its execution betrays a sense of craft perfection. It is only a passing mood of the poem, for it certainly does not represent Tennyson's considered philosophy of life. His real philosophy of life is to be found in his Ulysses. Tennyson has merely taken this classical story of the lotus eaters and adapts to it represent essentially a mood of the modern mind with which we can all sympathize sometime or another. Thank you.